Good morning and welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. Our opening words and chalice lighting is, "We bid you welcome." We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome who entered this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, and wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. I ask you to join me in our shared affirmation of our mission of the UU Church of Farmington. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, live with compassion. So on this very special September morning, not Saturday, September, different S word, I just want to welcome you all. My name is Elizabeth Knight, and I am the board president at UUCF. Of course, today is a special new beginning for us as we welcome Reverend Glenn Farley to our congregation. Reverend Glenn comes to us as a lifelong UU with experience well suited for our community, both in his work with similar congregation sizes and demographics, and notable experience in religious education. We're lucky to have him as a congregation here in a place that has always been supportive of our ministers and lay leadership over the years. And now I'm excited because we will walk together into this new phase of our congregation. Let us warmly welcome Reverend Glenn into our community. I'd also, of course, like to extend a special welcome to any new visitors today. Please join us outside after the service for refreshments and conversation. We're gathering outside right here in the parking lot and on the patio while the weather permits. But when indoors, we are observing COVID precautions and asking that everyone wear masks regardless of vaccination status. If you are visiting us for the first time and you're comfortable doing so, please stand and tell us where you're from and how you heard about us. We would like to meet you. Good morning. Welcome back. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul, and I'm actually on my way to the Hindu temple right up the street. And I thought, well, okay, the service is at 10:30 here at the UU. They're kind of universal, about universal truth, and maybe I'll pop in there first and then after.
Now there's a truth seeker right there. Yeah, right? There you go. Thank you. Welcome. As always, religious education classes are being held in the social hall during the service. An usher can direct you to that location if needed. And due to COVID precautions, we ask that if you have a joy or a sorrow you'd like to share later in the service, please fill out a blue card and give it to an usher, and I'll read it later. Or you can also text me at 248-705-8795. That's in the first page of the order of service. Please include your name in the text in case I don't recognize your number. And as we begin our service, we remember that our UU principles begin with our pledge to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people. We are a welcoming congregation, and we welcome into our community people of all races, sexual orientations, and belief systems. I have a few announcements today. A couple things I'll direct you to the e-blast that goes out on Friday. Our big fundraising event this year is our service auction, which will be happening November 6th. We are currently accepting donations for the auction. If a service auction is new or unheard to you, talk to one of our members. It's a really exciting thing that's traditional here in our community. But auction items are being accepted through October 16th. The auction will be held online again this year, but new this year is we are offering food. So there will be a charge per plate, and you can come and pick up your dinner here and then go back home for the online portion, and we can all eat safely in community together. Another announcement from our RE department, or our RE committee rather. Our teens are going to start doing our coming of age program this fall and are in need of mentors. Anyone can be a mentor. You don't have to have kids currently in the program or have had kids here who are now grown. But once a month, the RE committee would host an event either here or on a field trip after church where the teens would get to interact with their mentor, maybe playing putt-putt golf or board games or chatting over hot chocolate or ice cream. If this sounds like something you would be interested in, please contact Kelly Petrie, who's our religious education co-chair. She's going to be scheduling, she's right over here, she's going to be scheduling a mentor mixer where the teens can meet potential mentors, have some snacks, and play some games, getting to know you games before the mentors are assigned. This will also be an after-church event. Any other announcements? All right. For any other information going on in the church, we encourage you to check your e-blast or the monthly magnet. And please rise as you are willing and able for our first hymn, number 97, Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child.
Our reading this morning comes from the poet David White. It's entitled On Belonging and Coming Home. To feel as if you belong is one of the great triumphs of human existence, especially to sustain a life of belonging and to invite others into that. It's interesting to think that our sense of slight woundedness around not belonging is actually one of our core competencies. That though the crow is just itself, and the stone is just itself, and the mountain is just itself, and the cloud and the sky is just itself. We are the one part of creation that knows what it's like to live in exile, and that the ability to turn your face towards home is one of the great human endeavors, one of the great human stories. It's interesting to think, no matter how far you are from yourself, no matter how exiled you feel from your contribution to the rest of the world or to society, that as a human being, all you have to do is enumerate exactly the way you don't feel at home in the world, to say exactly how you don't belong. And the moment you've uttered the exact dimensionality of your exile, you're already taking the path back to the way, back to the place you should be. You're already on your way home. I had an experience here recently, an experience of the unfamiliar, an experience of feeling far from home. Perhaps a week and a half ago, I was driving west on 14 Mile Road, and I wanted to go south on Michigan 5, or M5. So as you all know, you don't make a left turn, you make a right, and then you go to the median and make a U-turn. I have since learned this is known as a Michigan left. So there I was driving along, and the signage was good. I made a right onto M5 and immediately got over to the far left lane to turn around. The turnaround was a double lane. It was two side-by-side lanes, and there was a red light at the Michigan left. And so I was in the right lane, and I stopped at the red light, and there was a car in the left lane next to me. Then the car next to me, it just goes. I look up, and the stoplight is still red. The guy just made a left turn on red. Whoa! That guy must really be in a hurry to blatantly break the law like that. Then the next guy in that lane came forward to the front of the line at the red light, and he paused, and then he takes off as well, turning left. I look up again at the stoplight, and it's still solid red. And then the guy behind him, the third guy, he approaches the front, pauses, and takes off, turning left on a red light. I look in my rear view mirror, and there's a car behind me. Is this guy behind me expecting me to turn left on a solid red light as well? I hope he won't start beeping at me and cause a commotion if I don't go. I start getting a little panicky. I feel flush in my ears and cheeks. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. Little beads of sweat form on my forehead. My imagination starts running wild. My mind races. If I don't go, this guy behind me might get angry and think I'm an idiot with an out-of-state license plate. If I do go, I imagine myself getting pulled over by the cops, and all I could say would be, "Everyone else was doing it, officer. Why not me?" Now, even though the guy behind me did not end up beeping his horn, I felt a lot of pressure to conform to the behavior of the other drivers around me. I grew up in the suburbs in the 1980s and 90s. As a child, I had to watch a lot of television commercials of Nancy Reagan telling me to just say no to drugs. I had to watch a lot of after-school specials on the danger to teens and preteens of peer pressure, pressure to drink alcohol underage or do illegal drugs or engage in other risky behaviors. Memories of these scare tactics and warnings came back to me in that moment. Peer pressure is a powerful motivator. In this case, all the drivers surrounding my car, turning left on a red light. Finally, the pressure got too much for me, and I resolved to do it. Against all my instincts, all my 30 years of driving experience across the country, the East Coast, the West Coast, Hawaii, 3 cross-country trips, never heard of anybody turning left on red lights. Thankfully, the light turned green just as I resolved to go. So I ended up turning left on a green light, which, of course, was much more comfortable for me. After this stressful incident, I did a little research on the World Wide Web to make sense of my experience. It took me a while because I didn't have the words to name my experience, to know what to search for even online. As Michigan is my new home, I wanted to learn more about my new state, and I was watching YouTube videos on Michigan. And one video I watched about the unique aspects of living in Michigan mentioned the Michigan left. Aha! So I Googled Michigan left, and it took me to a website called michiganautolaw.com. And there was a blog entry by Stephen Gersten, who's a lawyer. He claims to be the former Michigan Lawyer of the Year. And the entry was in the form of a question and answer. And the first question states, "Can you turn left on red in Michigan?" This is what the answer is. Most people raised in Michigan have done this. We're reasonably sure that somebody somewhere told us it was legal to make a left on a red. Contrast that with what happens when you have a visitor from another state in your car where this is not allowed. Your visitor tells you this is definitely illegal, and you have to wait for the light to turn green. The next question is, when can you turn left on a red light in Michigan? And he says, Michigan law allows you to turn left on a red light so long as you stop before entering the intersection and so long as you are turning onto a one-way street that is carrying traffic in the direction of the left turn. So there it is. I never thought I would see the day, a left turn on a steady, solid red light being legal. But here we are. I titled today's service, A Song for Coming Home. When I think of home, I think of safety, security, familiar surroundings, relaxation, and refuge. Home has certainly been on my mind lately. My home is in flux. I've lived in northern Arizona the past 9 years, and I packed up my home and moved out of my previous home in Arizona. Currently, my home stuff is just arrived into a climate-controlled warehouse in Plymouth, Michigan, and hopefully will be delivered to my new home in the next 3 weeks or so. Home is in the news. Home can be very political. Tragically, for millions of people, home is not a refuge. It's a place of violence and/or abuse. We have people in our country, thousands of people experiencing homelessness across the country. Lack of affordable housing is a major problem in many communities. Also now we have a moratorium for evictions due to the pandemic, and those moratoriums are running out. It's been a big conflict in the federal government between the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch, and hundreds of thousands of people are at risk of being forced out of their homes. Globally, we have refugees and asylum seekers fleeing violence or war or abuse in their home countries. The ones we hear about most are Afghanistan, with Afghani refugees. For years now, refugees from Mexico and Central America, and for the last decade, those fleeing war in Syria are the ones we hear about the most. Also today, we have climate change refugees, people leaving their homes in our own country to extreme weather, or drought, or flooding, or forest fires exacerbated by global warming and climate change. Home is more than simply where your heart is. Many UU churches I'm familiar with refer to this Sunday as a homecoming Sunday, the first Sunday in autumn back after a summer break of some time. And I know many individual Unitarian Universalists who refer to their church as their spiritual home. I do that as well. My home church is Cedar Lane UU Church in Bethesda, Maryland, a church I was deeply involved in from age 2 to age 30 when I left to go to seminary. I consider it my spiritual home where my spiritual life and community and my values were formed. It was where I was ordained as a UU minister in 2012, and the members of that congregation knit me this stole as a gift to commemorate that special occasion. And so I wear it, I think of them. It has a list of all the members of the congregation who participated in creating it. And the design of it, I think I said I'd like red and blue together, and they came up with this design, and it's reminiscent of the windows in the chapel are these kind of long, thin windows. So if you ever see the windows, you would recognize the pattern. But it's very, very special to me. Where am I? A spiritual home can be a safe, secure, and familiar place. Assuming this may be true for you, the UU Church of Farmington is your spiritual home. It can be challenged this morning as this new, unfamiliar stranger in this very pulpit of your spiritual home. So you have my empathy for how unfamiliar this change of minister may be for you. We all collectively are a year and a half into this pandemic. I hoped and thought we had worked through it this summer, but that turned out to not be the case. Our diligence must continue, and our commitment to gather safely must continue. Our nerves are frayed, and our tolerance for novelty or change may be limited. And yet, may the change at your spiritual home be a blessing for us all as we begin this journey together. I have been deeply honored by how welcomed I have felt here by your church leaders. I've received 3 welcome baskets, and the board took me out to a lovely Indian restaurant for dinner because I love Indian food. I have a snazzy reserved parking spot outside, and the sign on Halstead Rd welcomes me for all to see who drive by. In the last 2 weeks, I've been sitting in the minister's office, and I watched the baby deer frolic at the edge of the forest outside my window. I got it good. I look forward to safely getting to know all of you, and I ask for your grace. I've met some of you on Zoom and some in person, and I think I'm okay with names. I'll have to meet you a couple times. I usually remember faces, but that kind of all goes out the window when everyone's wearing a mask. So even if I met you on Zoom, I might not recognize you with the mask on. So, but I'll get it after a couple months. For my part, I'm starting to grow fond of the Michigan left, especially after I learned that it was legal in this state to turn left on a steady red light onto a one-way street. They really improve traffic flow and safety, and they're growing in popularity across the country and across the globe. After a fearful introduction, I am enamored with Michigan lefts. Likewise, may our seasons together be a joyful song of peace on this journey home together. To paraphrase our Universalist ancestors, we all come from the same place. We are all going to the same place. So we might as well get along while we are here. I invite you to share a moment of stillness and silence together with me. Words from the Kentucky poet Wendell Berry will prompt our shared moment of silence together. Wendell Berry writes, "And the world cannot be discovered by a journey of miles, no matter how long, but only by a spiritual journey, a journey of 1 inch, by which we arrive at the ground at our own feet and learn to be at home." May we learn to be at home, and may we support each other as we learn to be at home. May it be so. Amen. For our offertory this morning, we have a wonderful opportunity for all of you who identify as agnostics or atheists. If you have anything at all in your pockets with the words, "In God we trust," we will be glad to help you get rid of it. We will now receive the offering to support the mission and ongoing vitality of this congregation.
So for our joys and sorrows, please join me in reading the words that are found on page 3 of your order of service. Your joy is multiplied in its sharing. Your sorrow is lightened in its sharing. The stories that are shared weave together to strengthen our community as we care for one another.
The moment you've uttered the exact dimensionality of your exile, you're already taking the path back to the way, back to the place you should be. You're already on your way home. May you go in peace.
Amen.